Hello everyone, I am Dr. Ipshita Bhattacharya from Department of Humanities, Bhopal School of Social Sciences. Today I am going to talk about the history of contemporary India, Part 2, 1947 to 2004. In my previous lecture, we have started with the political integration of the princely states in Indian Union post India's independence with special reference to Junagadh, Hyderabad and Kashmir. In my previous lecture, I have dealt with the case of the Junagadh, and today we will be dealing with the Hyderabad and Kashmir issue. So as you can see in the map, this was the status of the Indian map on 15th of August 1947. In this map, you can very well see that this blue area which is covered, it is mainly the princely states, which accounted for approximately 48% of the Indian Union. And this was approximately 565 princely states which was spread all over in India. The yellow part actually depicts the British territories, British provinces, which was directly under the Indian control on 15th of August 1947. Now, the status of the princely states on 15th of August 1947 was total number of princely states counting to 565, wherein on Indian side it fall up to 552. And after the partition, that is post-partition, Pakistan incorporated 13. Now, the states which agreed out of 552 states, princely states, they were approximately 549 states. But three main cases were reluctant to join the Indian political union, out of which Junagadh case we have already discussed in our previous lecture. So today we will be talking about the Hyderabad and then Kashmir. Now this is the status of the Hyderabad in the Indian map, and we can very well see that this huge part of India was known as the Hyderabad that time, and this was one of the most richest and one of the most largest state of India. However, it was incorporated into India on 17th of September 1948 post Operation Polo. But eventually, how did this situation arrive? That's what we are going to discuss today. Now, Hyderabad, which is, as I told you, that this was one of the most largest state of India that time and also richest. This state was that time ruled by Nizam Usman Ali Khan. Now, who was Nizam Usman Ali Khan? He was the last Nizam of Hyderabad that time. And during his 37 years of tenure, he has built up Hyderabad, and he was also known as the father of the architecture of the Hyderabad. Now, Mir Usman Ali Khan's net worth, he was also known as one of the richest man in the world. And to our surprise, he was also listed as one of the richest person in the Forbes magazines of 1947. He also he was brought into the cover page of the Times magazine that time. So he was a pretty famous person because of his richness. USD 230 billion approximately, which counts to rupees 17.47 lakh crore of today's worth, that was his royal possession. Then his fortune also included approximately 100 million pounds of gold and 400 million pound worth of other jewels. Most famously, he also put a Jacob diamond, which was approximately 184.6 carat, on his table as a weight, as a paperweight. So Mir Usman Ali was the Nizam of Hyderabad that time, and Hyderabad being one of the largest and the richest territory. But unfortunately, this state was reluctant to join the Indian political integration. Reason? Because Nizam was more skewed towards joining Pakistan. Mir Usman Ali Khan was not very much towards the Indian side, and he was ruling, although Hyderabad that time was consisting of majorly Hindu population. Now, he signed a standstill agreement on November 1947. While there was different dialogues were going through the political corridors of New Delhi because of the Junagadh and the Kashmir case, Mir Usman Ali immediately signed a standstill agreement with Pakistan. Because of the signature on the standstill agreement with Pakistan, he took approximately 1 year time to finally eventually come to his decision whether to come with the Indian political union or to move towards the Pakistan. But his reluctancy was creating a lot of turbulence into the political corridors of Indian government, because Vallabhbhai Patel along with his team was pursuing the princely states of India to join the political integration of India. Now, during this standstill agreement, when Nizam signed it with the Pakistan, Nizam was also in a clandestine affair with Pakistan. How? He was importing arms from Pakistan, wherein it is also seen and observed that he was secretly lending approximately 18 million rupees to Pakistan. He was also having political relations with the other European countries. These relations were developed by Nizam in order to make his army more robust, and also he was importing a lot of arms and ammunition from Pakistan in order to create his irregular army, which later came to known as the Razakars. They had an important role to play, which we will be seeing in the due course. Now, who were these Razakars? Razakars were the paramilitary forces which were being pushed by the Nizam and which was being supported by Nizam rather, and also another party which was known as Majlis-e-Ittehad-Wala Muslimin, that is MIM. So, along with MIM and along with the support of the Nizam, these paramilitary forces of Razakars were creating turbulence in Hyderabad. Now, by now we know that in Hyderabad it was predominantly the demography was of Hindus, which were being ruled by Nizam. Now, similar situation has happened in Junagadh, which we discussed in our last lecture, wherein we have seen that how the Junagadh population eventually landed up to plebiscite. Now, similar situation was arising here in Hyderabad even. Now, after this situation which was happening in Hyderabad, and when the standstill agreement was known to India, this situation was brought before Vallabhbhai Patel, and definitely some measures has to be taken. Now, later on it came to be that mutual allegations have started pouring in. Mutual allegation in the form of, like, the Nizam alleged that the Indian government was imposing an informal embargo by using its control over the railways, leading into the state to deny the territories vital goods, especially arms and medical supplies. That means India was closing down its borders for the Hyderabad, and it was putting embargoes to carry on the trade smoothly with Hyderabad. Now, similarly, in retaliation, Hyderabad also did similar kind of situation. What India claimed that the government of Hyderabad was edging towards independence by divesting itself of its Indian securities. How? By banning the Indian currency, halting the export of groundnuts, which was India used to import it from Hyderabad, organizing illegal gun running from Pakistan, and inviting new recruits to its army and its irregular forces, that is Razakars. Now, these moves were regarded in Delhi as a comprehensive plan to break up the economic cohesion of India, and these were the steps which Hyderabad was taking in order to move out of the Indian political union, for which the Indian government was pursuing the Nizam. Because on India's part, it was very, very difficult to have a state within a state. As we have seen in the map, that Hyderabad was landlocked from all the sides. So it was very difficult, particularly in context to the national security of India, that India couldn't have allowed this to happen. Now, eventually, when there was the Razakars and their operations, and there was a situation like a civil war in Hyderabad, nothing, only the one way was left before the Indians, and that was to launch the Operation Polo. Now, what was Operation Polo? It was a special operation operated by the Indian military. So, major reasons why that Operation Polo was installed or deployed in the Hyderabad was majorly, number one reason was the situation within Hyderabad, the domestic, internal and the civil war like situation in the Hyderabad. Now, looking into this situation, Operation Polo was a must. Moreover, there were also other auxiliary reasons which were also contributing to take a drastic step. Another reasons counted for, like for an example, the communist sway. Now, we must also understand that this was also the time at the backdrop wherein the Cold War was moving on. And during this period, it was seen that Telangana, since it was sharing the border with Hyderabad, it was having a communist swayed peasant movement which was being pushed by the CPI party. So, due to this sway of communist and its seeping impact, which was seeping in gradually into the Hyderabad region, was another important reason that why Indian government chose to go for the Operation Polo. Secondly, the rise of the Razakars. Daily killings of the Hindus in Hyderabad was a major concern before the Indian government. And that is why the rise of the Razakars, which were in the form of irregular army and paramilitary forces, armed paramilitary forces, which were pushed and backed by the Nizam. Third important issue was that import of the arms from Pakistan and Europe. Indian government was noticing and observing that there has been a whole lot of import of arms and ammunition from Pakistan, and there has been a transaction of more than 18 million crore to Pakistan. Another important reason, central location and diverse cultural heritage of Hyderabad. Now, Operation Polo was launched on 13th of September 1948 and it stayed for approximately 5 days. On 17th September 1948, eventually Hyderabad was brought into the political integration of India. This operation was launched wherein approximately 36,000 Indian troops participated into it, and this was a trilateral operation from 3 ways. That is, wherein via Sholapur it was launched by Major General G.N. Chaudhary, Major General Rudra Pratap Singh via Vijayawada, and Lieutenant General Rajendra Singh, he was dealing with the final operation. So this is how on 17th of September 1948, after the Operation Polo, Hyderabad was brought into the political union of India. Now, similar case we will find in Kashmir. However, here we will find the demographic counters. Now, as you can see, this is the map of Kashmir, wherein the orange part that you can see, it is under the Indian possession currently, which is also known as the Kashmir. However, the green part, which is you can see that is known as the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and the red part you can see is the occupation of China. Now, when we see, although this is not a legitimate cover of the Pakistan and China, it is only controlled, although claimed by India. So, similar situation happened in 1947 with respect to Kashmir. We all know that Kashmir is a 1947, the similar situation. Maharaja Hari Singh was the ruler of Kashmir that time, the Dogra ruler. Now, Maharaja Hari Singh was reluctant to join the Indian Union. Why? Because knowing the fact that India has already chosen to go democratic. secular socialist republic. Looking into the political ideologies which India is going to carry on in the near future, Maharaja knew it very well that if he joins Indian Union, his kingship, his autocracy, his monarchical situation, he has to give up. And probably that was the reason that why he was so reluctant to join the Indian Union. But here comes the twist. Maharaja Hari Singh was ruling a huge population which was Muslim. And we must understand that the division of India was on the basis of the division of the religion. Now, when we say that, the population of Kashmir, they thought that they wanted to go with the Pakistan. Now, here comes the tussle between the Maharaja and the population of Kashmir. Now, Kashmir, the population of Kashmir was Muslims, majorly, dominantly. Maharaja knew that if he goes to the Pakistan's union, because Muhammad Ali Jinnah was always pursuing Maharaja of Hari Singh to join Pakistan. It was that moment when Maharaja Hari Singh signed the Standstill Agreement, wherein he thought that he will be buying some time to take a major decision. Now, due to this, Maharaja Hari Singh also pursued one of the Prime Minister Sheikh Abdullah to convince the Indian government. And from the Indian side, Vallabhbhai Patel was pursuing Maharaja in order to choose a country. Now, looking into this situation, a huge political chasm arose in Kashmir. And due to this, there was on October 1947, there was an attack from the Pakistan side, mainly the Kabylis of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which belong to the Waziristan, that is the northernmost part of the Kashmir, Pakistan. Along with this tribal mans, Pakistan army was also included into that attack. Now, this was being understood when there was a ceasefire done much later, wherein the identification of the Pakistani army and their identities were recovered. Now, due to this invasion by these Kabylis into the Kashmir region, Maharaja left with no other choice. So, in that case, Maharaja approached India. And before that also, Maharaja was again and again pursuing India to send its army to save Kashmir, wherein India was not about to do that. Why? Because Kashmir was not with India that time. So, India was reluctant to send its army. Now, when Maharaja decided that Indian army has to intervene into the issue, he eventually landed up to signing of the Instrument of Accession with India. Because the night before he signed the Instrument of Accession with India, approximately 11,000 people were killed in the Baramulla district. And because of this, Instrument of Accession was signed on 26th of October 1947. However, this issue does went to the United Nations. And when it went to United Nations, since Pakistan was asking for the plebiscite in Kashmir because of the demographic concentration, wherein the resolutions which has been declared by the United Nations suggest that first of all there needs to be a status quo maintained. There need to be a ceasefire on the borders first. The first resolution says that it has to be Pakistan who has to remove its army from the borders. Secondly, it has to be done by the same thing, India. And then only there could be any questions of plebiscite could be raised. So, currently we can say the issue is frozen, and we all know that what is the situation at the borders between India and Pakistan and Kashmir. So, with this I would like to come to the end of this lecture. In my next lecture, I will be bringing in more about this issue. Thank you. Happy learning.